This is a comparison between two themes, now in stunning high visibility. 1. Titanium water bottles relative to other water bottle materials such as stainless steel or plastic. And 2. Comparing the more specific titanium water bottle designs of the ones that I've owned or experienced. The main pros and cons I have come with for titanium bottles are as follows. Pros: 1. Titanium is a featherweight metal for its relative strength. I think it can be made roughly 60% of a stainless steel weight and have the same levels of strength or durability, or it's the pseudoscience that I have drummed up. So again, it can be much lighter for durability compared to stainless steel, which all mean ultimately that it travels well. 2. Unless there is some sort of allergy, titanium is arguably the least toxic metal for your body to digest, or I guess, I guess leach. I don't. It's not healthy to digest most metals, but anecdotally, I have not tasted any leaching in cooked or boiled or stored in titanium product. So in comparison, plastic and stainless steel seem to be the biggest uh, victims of this, where if you, especially water, leave it in the container, it's likely to affect the flavor of what you're drinking, as well as the fact that titanium is non-toxic to drink out of. That doesn't mean start drinking the metal titanium or swallowing it. So 3, you can cook or boil with a single-walled titanium product. As I said in my other video, single-walled, Snow Peak. This is single-walled, this is double-walled. With a double-walled design, in theory, it's supposed to keep the liquid inside it cooler or hotter for much longer, sometimes up to 24 hours, although that requires a closed surface such as this or this, as opposed to an open container. But regardless, do not cook with a double-walled material. It'll take a lot longer, and it'll increase the chances that of perhaps impacting the integrity of the sort of two sealed things of material of titanium or stainless steel by trying to cook with it. But regardless, with the single-walled titanium product, you can cook with it, and that also means you can boil waters, which is important, especially if you are camping. So 4, transitioning from pros into cons. Titanium heats up efficiently. It heats up much faster than stainless steel in my experience. However, it is important that if you're cooking with titanium, it also means that it's much easier to make a mistake in overcooking it, and then which also means something getting stuck if you're cooking food. So, cons. 1, titanium is extravagant, and this is the reason why I only have 4 titanium products, some of which I had to ask friends to film with, or friends titanium. Expect to pay in the range of $30 to $100 US plus for the luxury of this metal. Some of these titanium products I've seen costing up to $150 US. 2, because of its price and availability, titanium product design is in its infancy and undeveloped in the market. As of today, therefore, expect many flawed titanium designs, as I'll go into down the road, or down here. Or otherwise, a useful product perhaps not existing, where you may think that one should exist. So, the brands that I have had the best success with are 1, Snow Peak, and that's both of these designs here. Now, this will come with an obvious caveat. So, if Snow Peak is willing to make it, since their designs tend to have the sort of ultra-light crowd in mind first and foremost. So basically what that means is that I do not have a Snow Peak product with a sealed lid, as you can see here or here, which is something you would typically use when you're camping. So again, the consumer is most at mercy of the manufacturers for titanium products, meaning what they're willing to make. Unfortunately, their only technical water bottles that they've designed with a cap are one for sake. They make a flask or it only holds the size of a soda can, which I believe is 13, 14 ounces. They do have a plethora of single and double wall cups, though. Again, cups like these. They are arguably the only titanium water container company that is not made in China, as they are produced in Japan. This might change, but every other product, Keith, I think it's also sold as heavy cover, and the Vargo here, made in China, as well as every other titanium product I've seen. I think it's also worth mentioning that in transitioning to the other products that even though they might advertise as 100% titanium, I think it kind of is like when people advertise a product being 100% copper, when there's often in the manufacturing of copper containers that the copper is mixed with some other materials, albeit perhaps a small amount. So I do have some doubts towards the integrity of whether they're 100% titanium. Not fact, but just doubts. Two, if I had to recommend a bottle container, I would recommend the Keith Canteen. As I said, often rebranded under heavy cover with sort of a squeaky leaking problem. Or I could bring out the Vargo bottle here with a reputation of its consumers drinking titanium shavings through the closing of the bottle as well as leaking. So while I generally have had better luck with the Keith design over the Vargo, as well as read better experiences, I think either a redesigned plastic lid on these with sort of a silicone on the inside of it to seal up the enclosure better would make for a more recommendable product. While I have yet to try it, one may be able to use some beeswax on the lid's threads to help with a leak. So, what do I mean? So as for the heavy cover squeaky leaking problem, it's got a lovely noise that you'll hear every time you open, guaranteed to wake up the person adjacent to you. I also think that it's one of the only designs of the products that I recommend where it closes, the threads of the cap are on the inside instead of on the outside. As you can see here, the cap's on the external part of it. With this one, I can't seem to get a seal, and I'm worried that if I close it too tight, I'm going to end up stripping the threads inside the design. But regardless, it seems like when I carry water, if it's not standing still up, it's likely and prone to leak, as well as the squeaking problem, as mentioned. I do believe they sell a plastic top, but I do not currently own it. Again, there might have an ability to just sort of cover the threads here with some beeswax or something similar, and it might help with the sealing problem, and it might help with the leaking problem. Even though I do think this is a fancier design, and it's worth noting the lid here weighs about as much as the rest of the container combined. So, but I think it's, the thing is even though I would probably recommend this one, I would initially recommend this one more. The problem I've read with sort of the threading getting stripped in here and causing titanium shavings off is extremely problematic. As I said before, even though titanium is supposedly non-toxic to drink out of, perhaps the most non-toxic metal to drink out of, it's still is not worth it to ingest titanium. So the fact that I've read that there's a big problem with the threading here detaching and being drunk, I don't think that that's recommended. You can still get poisoning from metals. So I've also had some experience of leaking with this one, although it's not as bad as the heavy cover design. So take it as if you will. You might be able to, even though it's not as loud as the heavy cover Keith Canteen, the beeswax might help with some of the stripped metal shavings and perhaps with the noise, but still not as bad as the Keith squeak. So this is the state of titanium, and I have no doubt that the coming years will bring forth new designs if what the market that there is with titanium water bottles can be sustained. Even though surgeons use titanium to put plates inside of people's bodies, it is still safe to ingest large quantities of titanium. As a result, let it be a warning of potentially unsafe titanium products, as I mentioned before. I am also casting doubt again as whether titanium products sold on Amazons are technically 100% medical grade titanium. Tread wisely if you are going to invest the heavy expense into an otherwise heirloom price for a water bottle. For now, Snow Peak Snow Peak works best if you don't need a lot of liquid or an enclosure. Suffice it to say, I'm a bigger fan of their cups than any other titanium product. Then I would go with a Keith if you're willing to figure out a solution to its enclosure, or if you're just going to keep it upright like this all the time. One last thing, even though titanium is extremely durable for its weight, it is still prone to getting dents, as this one has a slight dent right here. So I think, in my stainless steel video, I mentioned that even though you have a thicker stainless steel, that also means that if you drop it, or when you drop it, as you will with a traveling water bottle, that extra weight's going to affect the impact and also make it likely to dent. Maybe not as likely as a thinner one, but I think the advantage with this is you get something that even if you drop it or when you drop it, it's still less likely to dent, probably more so than heavier stainless steel, as you'll see in a water bottle at least. It's still capable of being dented on harder surfaces such as concrete. So if you are seeking a more overcast, though darker and exhausting video, be sure to listen to my Canteen Quest course. Thank you.